And that's former Senator Jim DeMint, head of the Heritage Foundation. Jim, good morning.
Well, good morning. It's good to be back.
How you doing this morning?
Well, I'm doing great. There's actually a little snow here in Washington as well today. So,
is that paralysis for the entire city then?
Yeah, just a slight covering. Everything's closed. It closes down.
Man, oh man, it's a little different down there than it is up here. You know, we saw some of those pictures from Atlanta last year, where a half-inch of snow resulted in
a bread and milk run.
That's right, a bread and milk run. You got to get up to about 18 inches before that happens up here.
Oh, wow. Oh, good. Well, yeah, good. Well, we will think about you, but it's actually going to be a pretty weekend here. I hope it is there.
heritageaction.com/opportunity for all. That's what people want to check out. They can actually download this entire, I guess you call it a kind of a policy book that Heritage has put together. Opportunity for all, favoritism to none. That's the bottom line here. What's it all about, Jim?
It really sums up what we've heard from thousands of Americans, and we do a lot of research here at Heritage, but a lot of the research we've done in the last couple of years is just talk to Americans from all walks of life, rich, poor, minorities, but there is a common theme that they're tired of government playing favorites, picking winners and losers, and all the special interests that get special treatment. What most Americans want is just a fair chance, opportunity, equal opportunity, and we can sum up what I think is in the hopes and dreams of most Americans is that they have a government that promotes opportunity for everyone, but favoritism for none. And what we've been doing over the last couple of days, we've had 20 senators and congressmen come through presenting policy ideas that help build a stronger society, a stronger economy, a stronger defense, and just showing that they're real solutions, common sense solutions to our problems. And it's been pretty exciting to be here because our country, we could turn it around, what we call reclaiming America. We can do it if we just fix the public policies that are pushing in the wrong direction.
Jim, I think the thing that's exciting and cool is that you went out and you talked to actual people from all walks of life on this, instead of somebody just pulling up out of whole cloth or out of thin air what they believe your average American or different groups of Americans think about things. You actually went to them and asked.
Yeah, if you take off the political labels, and I've actually said that to groups, forget the labels, Republicans, Democrats, conservative, liberals. Let's talk about those ideas, those policies that could actually make your life better. And most Americans agree on the basics, and it really comes down to let's do the things that create opportunities. Let's have more opportunity in education so that children that have a lot of different needs and interests can get an education to build the capabilities they need. Let's create more opportunities in the economy for different kinds of jobs, and there are ways that we can do that create a whole lot more openings, chances to not only get jobs but to start small businesses. People want the same thing, and folks don't come here from around the world to be part of a minority class. They come here to be Americans and to share in that opportunity. So we found the same message works for all Americans, and everyone's anxious to kind of pull together if they just get a fair chance.
Former Senator Jim DeMint with us. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. He's with the Heritage Foundation. heritageaction.com/opportunity for all is where you can go to find out a lot more about what Heritage has put together. A lot of former guests and future guests at our show have pieces in this little book. Robert Rector, James Shirk on labor, Lindsey Burke on education, Curtis Dubé. So there's a lot of experts that we've talked to on the show who weigh in here. Talk about education for a second, Jim. We had Andrew Campanella on earlier from National School Choice Week, and it's a big deal here in Illinois, too. We have a new governor, Bruce Rauter, who is very much in favor of education reform, very much in favor of school choice. This is a really massive issue, I think, as we head toward 2016.
It really is, and we don't have to talk theoretically anymore about education opportunity and more choices because there are a number of states who have tried variations of it, and we see that the people who are helped the most are the poor kids, the disadvantaged kids, minorities. I mean, we saw Florida start some things years ago. Arizona probably has the best model now of what they call education savings accounts, where children get a set amount of money every year, and their parents can pick different ways to educate them, whether it be traditional or some hybrid of homeschool and tutors. But if they don't spend it all, it moves to the next year. And they even have children now in college who are using part of an unspent education savings account, and it creates a whole lot of new education opportunities because for-profit businesses and nonprofit businesses create all kinds of options for parents when parents can make those choices. And the results are good. But what we see is the huge fight here is the education establishment, the big teachers' unions. They don't want change. They want the status quo. They're protecting jobs rather than working for the good of students. So it's a big political fight, and your new governor is got a big political fight ahead of him, but the facts are on his side, and that's what we're promoting around the country and trying to work some things out here in Washington to give states more flexibility to do the things that really help.
And Jim, following that thought on education, I really like what you have down here because we've talked about it on this show from time to time. You know, you always talk about big oil, big pharmaceutical. Well, we talk about big education, and you mentioned breaking up the higher ed cartels and ease the burden of loan debt on students.
Exactly. There is a cartel in higher education, and you hear more and more from students and employers that what you're paying all this money and borrowing all this money for to go to college is not actually giving you marketable skills. And that has a lot to do with the accreditation process that's controlled by federal bureaucrats. We could create a lot more higher education opportunities to actually give people the type of education they need to be competitive in this world. And that's what we're trying to break down with one of the pieces of legislation we've talked about in this summit that would just open up the accreditation possibilities so that it's not just controlled by the, I guess, liberal tenured establishment.
Former Senator Jim DeMint with us here. It's Riley and Scott on WROK, the Heritage Foundation, heritageaction.com/opportunity for all. Again, is where to go to find out more. You've been meeting with the lawmakers. You've been talking with them about things in this Opportunity for All agenda. Tax reform seems to be an issue where there will be some movement, perhaps even this year, in the House and Senate on corporate tax reform and overall tax reform, too. When you look, Jim, toward a true tax reform measure that might make it out of the House and Senate, what are you looking for?
Well, what we're trying to do now is put together a framework of principles that the tax reform movement can agree on. The problem we've had for the last 10 years, a lot of people, everybody almost wants tax reform, but they want different versions. They want a fair tax, a kind of a sales tax, or they want a flat tax. And what we have to do is agree on those ideas that are really important for a good tax system. There's more agreement on the corporate side. We're killing ourselves as far as jobs are concerned by the way we tax corporations because other countries don't tax goods that are exported. We do. So the built-in costs of taxes make our products less competitive, which means we have less jobs here. We need to change those things that are just obvious. And we've got the highest corporate tax rate in the world now, which makes it harder to manufacture in America. It really makes no sense to have it that way. So there may be a way, even with this president, to have some corporate tax reform. But there's so many demagogues on the other side who think if we make corporations pay more taxes, then people will pay less, when in fact, while people don't believe it, it's really true. Corporations don't pay taxes. They pass it along to their customers or in the built-in cost of their products. I don't think we'll get a good tax reform proposal through with this president for our personal taxes, but I personally like more of a sales tax version because that gets the government out of taxing individuals. We don't have the IRS chasing around 300 million people, but that has to be done very carefully, and we're working on different proposals with economic experts. But what we hope we can have within the next 6 to 9 months is a framework that the presidential candidates can run on to talk about how we can bring this debate to a close with the new administration.
Speaking of opportunity for all, boy, there's been a lot of opportunity for people to head up into the Dakota region, get themselves a job thanks to all of this energy that's been found up there, and look at the results around the globe because of it. It's probably the most important issue for us to think about right now, because what you see in North Dakota is if you let the private economy grow, you don't need minimum wages. You don't need all this other stuff because people's salaries automatically grow when companies are competing for people to hire. And energy, the vision of having an energy-independent America does so much for our job creation, our overall economy, for tax revenues, for states and the federal government.
and also for our foreign policy. We've been talking to dozens of ambassadors from the former Soviet Union, all the republics around them, and they are held hostage by Putin because they have to get their energy from them. And they're just saying if America would only export all of the excess natural gas that we have, that we could actually have a stronger position in the world for freedom. So there's so many opportunities on the energy front, and frankly, the only growth in our economy, almost all of it, in the last few years has been from this energy revolution. So despite the administration's effort to close it down, and they pretty much have on federal lands, states and private entrepreneurs have opened up a lot of new energy for the country, and it is our biggest opportunity right now economically.
Former Senator Jim DeMint with us, just another minute. It's Ronnie and Scott on WROK. It's almost the elephant in the room. I don't know if we're numb to it at this point, Jim. The debt, $18 trillion in debt. I know you talk spending of this opportunity for all agenda, but how do we begin to chip away at what we owe, what we and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren are going to owe?
Oh, well, people won't take it seriously, I'm afraid, until there's some kind of crash. But this is an unsustainable amount of debt. I mean, it's like a business that owes more than its revenues, and it never has a positive cash flow. You know something bad's going to happen. But we can fix it. Just like this energy revolution, if we let it go, it can create more tax revenues without raising taxes on anyone. But a lot of things like school choice, for instance, turning things back over to the states, would actually give more money to education but reduce the federal budget. The same is true with health care. We could get more health care and higher quality health care if we decentralize it, move it out of Washington. Same with transportation. Instead of talking about raising the federal gas tax, let the states keep the gas taxes that they raise. They'll have a lot more money to spend without the federal regulations and requirements. So there's a lot we can do by moving government closer to home, let the federal government focus on securing our borders and securing our nation, making sure there's justice for all, the things we're supposed to do, and we could gradually bring down this debt over time and avoid the crash that's inevitable if we ignore it.
heritageaction.com/opportunity for all. You're going to want to check that out. Jim DeMint, thanks as always for your time this morning.
Thanks for what you do every day. I enjoy being with you.